Ramanacentre Tamraravindekshanam Bhaktabhishtavarabhayapradakaram Kaupinamatrojvalam Svatmanandarasānubhūti vivasham Sarvānavadyāngakam Shrimantam Shri Ramaneshwaram Guruvaram Yogasanadhyasitam Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatram Yahamahamiti Sakshatatmarupena Bhati Hridi Vishamanasa Swam Chinvata Majjatava Pavana Chalana Rodhat Atmanishto Bhavatvam. Namo Ramana. We will commence today's Atma Vichara, Friday's Atma Vichara. We usually read Bhagavan's Upadesham teaching from the book Ramana Answers Self-Enquiry 1900 to 1950, a compilation of all the questions put to Bhagavan on the subject matter of self-enquiry, Atma Vichara, that is, who am I, between 1900 to 1950 by many devotees, and this wonderful compilation of the questions and the answers given by Bhagavan has been put together by our founder president Sri A.R. Natarajanji, and we have been looking at the question and answers put to Bhagavan between 1936 to 1950, and we have arrived at the 101 question for this week. And after reading this question and answer and meditating on Bhagavan's answer, we will have a 20 minutes practice of self-enquiry, who am I? Following that, our President Sarada Akka would be contemplating on Ramana Gita, which is again a compilation of all the question and answers put to Bhagavan by Ganapati Muni in Sanskrit. And this again would be on the subject matter of self-enquiry. And then finally, we will have the concluding prayers to Bhagavan. And looking at this week's question, the devotee asks, I am often prone to sleep during meditation. How can it be avoided? Question is, I am often prone to sleep during meditation. How can it be avoided? Which Bhagavan answers as follows. Of course, one should be alert in sadhana and guard against sleep as far as one can. But the moment you wake, you can catch the current of your meditation and continue. Repeat Bhagavan's answers. Of course, one should be alert in sadhana and guard against sleep as far as one can. But the moment you wake, you catch up the current of your meditation and continue. Though the question is about sleep during meditation and how to avoid it, we can even perhaps rephrase it like this also. Since the Upanishads and Bhagavan always keep telling that we are the self, but we always slip into thoughts. We get carried away by the thoughts. We don't identify ourselves as the self. We slip into being identified as an individual. How to avoid it? It may be even reframed in the same spirit, because the underlying truth is always, Bhagavan says, is the self, which is nothing but meditation, which is nothing but God, which is nothing but Paramatma, which can also be called as Satchidananda. Bhagavan says anything we may call, that is what is there, the de facto, the natural truth. But we slip from it, get identified with thoughts, identified with body, or whether we decide to become alert of it and start meditating, and in this case, we slip again into sleep. So the question is how to avoid. And Bhagavan says the important thing he talks about is being alert. The opposite of alertness is becoming careless, inattentive. And he's saying that we need to be alert. There may be number of thoughts. We need not get carried away by the number of thoughts. We may not get carried away by the sleep, but we should be attentive to what we are doing. So he's saying the attention, when we become careless of our goal or of our path, then only we slip into something else. So the alertness is something Bhagavan is bringing the importance. And if we, as I was looking at the word alert in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, and Bhagavan makes it very clear in all places that during the sadhana, during the practice, what is the practice? According to Bhagavan, we are already the self. To let go all the wrong identification we get into. And how do we get into wrong identification? It is by attending to the thoughts, giving them the attention and taking them to be real. We slip away from our natural state and get limited. So the sadhana is only, the who am I is only to not get into that error that we have so comfortably got used to. We find it so easy to pay attention to a thought, and not only one thought, a stream of thoughts, and then get carried away by it, forgetting the ever-present awareness, the ever-alert awareness that is the substratum, the ever-present peace which is thought-free, the ever-present our own existence. We take it for granted. That is the carelessness. And we take the thoughts, the mind, the body, the world, all to be real and very important. And we pay a lot of alertness to that. We think there is mind and we need to stop the thoughts. We give so much of reality to them. We think that thoughts are real and we need to have we have to have them stop. We think we are the body and we need to transcend it. Even in sitting into the meditation, into the Atma Vichara, it is I, Dileep, sitting here with this frame of body and going to practice something. That is the idea, strong identification. That is where the complete alertness is. And we take the pure consciousness, the pure awareness, the pure existence, the pure state, the intermittent state where between two thoughts, which Bhagavan says, where there is only peace. When there is no thoughts, peace is. And suddenly another thought comes and we see the peace missing. So we take the substratum for granted, or we become completely inattentive, completely careless about it. And we are now giving a lot of alertness, a lot of attention to that which is not, which is the thoughts, and after the thoughts, the idea. And the first and the foremost is the I thought. And then all the other thoughts, holding on to that idea that I am an individual, which rises in the form of dualities and triads, the likes and dislikes, the seer, seen, the objects, and all of that. We give a lot of attention to that. And Bhagavan is saying here, the only remedy to get back to that which is natural is to be alert. And Bhagavan in talks continues to say that we can use breath control or something to quieten the mind. Once the mind becomes silent or even peaceful, we should be alert until the whole body, which he calls it like a floating log. That means all of these vasanas, which form the body, the mind, the intellect, the world, everything, which looks very gross, which looks very solid, which looks very ghana, even after the mind becomes peaceful, Bhagavan says we should be alert, alert, alert. We should not yield to inattentiveness. Then the whole of this will sink into the truth, he says. And in that state, there is no, and Bhagavan says, in that state it becomes effortless. The effort maker is absent. The effort maker is the I, and he becomes absent because he's all part of this gross thing. And the attention alone, once we reach the peace, and Bhagavan says, pranayama or something, japa or something we may want to do, or even a meditation if you have done enough meditation, or an Atma Vichara, with which the mind becomes peaceful. And from there, being attentive, further we have to hold on to that being attentive in the peace state. And then the whole of this will sink into the self, and the self alone shines at that time effortlessly. He calls it as the alert peace. That means alertness is the substratum. Bhagavan says in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi that it is the alert peace that we will experience. So the alertness is the substratum. So the mind becomes inattentive today because of all the vasanas or because of the influence of the three gunas. But more and more we should practice. Then Bhagavan continues to come to our aid. Despite that, what happens if we get into sleep or if we get carried away by a thought? He says, but the moment you wake up, that means moment you become alert that you got carried away into a sleep, or moment you become alert that a thought took you away from being alert into the self, into something else. He says, you catch up with the meditation, you catch up with what you were doing, the sadhana, and continue again from there. Instead of getting troubled that, oh, I was sitting in meditation, this thought came and I got dragged away. Oh, I wasted so much of time. I am not able to do this. This is impossible for me. Again, attending to all those thoughts. Bhagavan says, as soon as you become attentive, whenever the awareness, that is grace, that is the grace of the Guru which makes us become aware that we got sidetracked. And Bhagavan is saying, as soon as the grace arise, hold on to it, and again continue with the current of the meditation. And that is all that one needs to practice with alertness. And then the truth which alone is will rise and shine automatically, says Bhagavan. With the abundant grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. No matter how many thoughts rise, no matter what is the nature of those thoughts, whether it is good, bad, ugly, or even spiritual, it is all an object to that alertness. It is all a disturbance to the natural peace, which is the substratum. Therefore, Bhagavan asks us to diligently, alertfully inquire, to whom is this? And the answer will come, it is for me, not for somebody else. And then he asks us to inquire, who am I? And when we question who am I, and what do we really refer to as I, we see that when we go to the source of that I thought, or we inquire, what do I really call as I? We will find ourselves to be that pure being, that pure consciousness, alertness, the pure peace which is thought-free. Therefore, no matter what all experience we have in the waking, we find ourselves to be peaceful in the state of sleep where there is no thoughts. So it becomes important for us to recognize that natural state, and the inquiry, who am I, takes us again and again back to the source. And with repeated practice, Bhagavan assures that the natural truth will be seen to be effortless, will be found to be effortless and peaceful. Until such time, the effort and the alert practice is required. So with the abundant grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path, for the next 20 minutes, let us practice Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Over to Sarada Akka.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining of the self in all beings. The immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana. In this part of the Satsang, we are meditating on the verses of Ramana Gita, which is a compilation by Ganapati Muni of answers given by Bhagavan Ramana to various questions of disciples and disciples of Muni and other devotees. And all these have been compiled and put together by the Muni and codified into 18 chapters in Sanskrit verse. So we are in chapter 11, which is called Jnana Siddhi Samarasya Kathanam, the compatibility of Jnana and Siddhis. And in this chapter, the Muni is the questioner, himself is the questioner, and before putting his question, he is basking in the glory of the Sadguru. He is enjoying the company of the Sadguru. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that the way one should ask a question of the Sadguru is pariprashnena sevaya. One should serve the Guru and then put the question at the appropriate time. Ask of one's doubts at the appropriate time. That's why it said pariprashna and sevaya. One should serve the Guru. So here what seva does Bhagavan want? Bhagavan wants no seva at all. So in that, here is Ganapati Muni, who is going to ask Bhagavan about the compatibility between Jnana and Siddhis. I have a question here by one Din, whoever it is, that devotee says we should talk about self-enquiry. Dileep sir had spoken about self-enquiry directly in the first half of this satsang, and in the second half of the satsang we are now meditating on the verses and chapters of Ramana Gita which have a bearing on our sadhana, which have a bearing on self-enquiry as to what is the attitude that we should have towards self-enquiry. What is the attitude we should have towards the Guru? Just give me 1 second. So this is the chapter here. Self-enquiry, direct practice. We have done the first half of the satsang. And in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on related topics which are having a bearing on our practice. So this topic, actual topic is Siddhis. Siddhi means any accomplishment. So what is the relationship between an accomplishment and Jnana? That will be the question of Muni. But in the first part, he is talking about the glory of the Sadguru. Why is it important for us to know about the glory of the Sadguru? Unless we have complete faith in Bhagavan Ramana, we cannot follow the path of Bhagavan. We cannot follow the path given by him in the best manner. So we must understand the glory of the teacher before we start a practice. Otherwise, what will happen if I do not understand the greatness of Bhagavan Ramana? I may start getting doubts about the path along the way. Then what use is it for me to take the path? So let me be first convinced about the person who is telling me how to do self-inquiry, and from where is this path emanating? From what kind of a person is this path emanating? That is what he has told us over here. He says that I asked him about that jnana, durlabha jnana labdaye, and what did I tell him? Tvayeva paramanishta, tvayeva vishadamati. This is what we looked at last time. O Ramana, you are ever abiding in that supreme state. So, we must understand what is self-inquiry? What is self-inquiry? Why do we do self-inquiry? Why should we do self-inquiry? What is the purpose of self-inquiry? The purpose of self-inquiry is to abide in our true nature, that Paramanishta, in which Ramana is always abiding. He is opening out a path for us also to experience that. So we must understand the glory of that abidance. If we understand the glory of the abidance, self-inquiry is very, very, very simple for us. Because the moment we are convinced about the goal, the moment we are convinced that self-abidance alone is important, everything else is not of any consequence in relation to that, then what will happen? The mind will automatically subside into its source. Why does the mind go outside? Even here in this chapter, the Muni is going to ask about siddhis, about accomplishments other than self-knowledge. Because our mind is constantly looking at goals. It is constantly looking at something which we can achieve even through self-inquiry. But we must understand that self-abidance alone is important. That's why we look at the Guru and we say, how amazing is your self-abidance. How amazing is the pureness of your mind, Vishadamatihi, which is able to be totally at peace in the midst of all activities. Whether Ramana is sitting in the hot sun on a rock boulder which is burning, whether he is walking barefoot on the boulders of Arunachala, whether he is walking on thorns, which his friend saw him walking on thorns, his friend Rangan, and said, "Oh, let me remove that thorn from your foot." And Ramana said, "Is it so, Rangan?" And he sat down and he showed him and he said, "Which thorn will you remove?" The foot was filled with thorns. So was the other foot. So what is this? What is this state of Ramana? What is this state of Vishadamati? And all knowledge is there. All knowledge. Ambasami Vavarashir Vijnananam Swamaspadam. There is nothing else to be learnt because everything is there in you, who is the repository of knowledge. Then he says, Tvam tu saptadashe varshe balya eva mahayashah labdhavanasi vijnanam yoginam api durlabham. Oh Ramana, why is it that I am coming to you to understand the path of self-inquiry? I am coming to you to understand self-inquiry because you, as a boy of 17, you yourself pursued this inquiry. You did this inquiry, intensely you did this inquiry, and you got the enlightenment which even great yogis do not get. So, I can find the answer. I can find the right path from you. Sarve drishya ime bhava yasya chaya mayastava tasya te bhagavan nishtham konu varnayitum kshama. This entire universe is a mere shadow in you. Who can describe your state? How can we understand? In Aksharamanamale, Ramana Maharshi says, who can comprehend you, O Arunachala? And when we realize that we cannot comprehend the Supreme, we cannot understand the play of the Supreme, we cannot express it. Konu Varnayitum means I cannot describe, means I cannot even understand. To us, there are issues we are facing, some problem, something arises, something is a problem. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? Why is somebody sick? Why is somebody sad? Why is there violence? Why is there sorrow in this world? All these questions come to us. But if we understand that His play is inexplicable, if we understand that His play is inexplicable, that becomes the point of total faith. Nandakumarji said that when he started his self-inquiry, he had certain intense problems which he was facing when he was giving himself 100% to self-inquiry. But he said, Bhagavan has said, don't pay attention to any of the thoughts. Question and let go of all the thoughts. And he said, how was it that I was able to let go of all the thoughts? It struck me later that, especially he said it struck him when he was meditating on the life of Kaulakshmi, that because of my faith in Bhagavan, somewhere deep in me the faith in Bhagavan, that Bhagavan takes care, He will take care of everything, I could drop all my thoughts. When there is somebody who is taking care of everything for us, what is it that we should be thinking about? What is it that we need to worry about? What is the care that we have? What is the desire that we need to have? So that faith, Konu Varnayitum Kshama, is very, very important for us. And he says, what is our state? In the next verse he says, Majjatam ghora samsare vyapratanam itasatah dukkham mahatti tirshunam tvameka paramagati. Drowning in this ghora, in this very, very horrendous samsara, which is so powerful, which is so pervasive, and experiencing deep sorrow. What do I realize? You alone are my refuge. You alone are my refuge. Tvameka paramagati. You alone are the supreme refuge. Why? Because you are established in that state which alone is the refuge for every one of us. Bhagavan is established in that state which he says is ours. What else can be a refuge? The ghora samsara. Because whenever we look at this world, everywhere, at every turn, there is sorrow. There is sorrow. Our lives may be going on even pace sometimes, and even keel. It may appear to be good at times. But even a person who is having a good life, is that person happy? Is that person contented? Everything may be good, health may be more or less all right. We may have food to eat, we may have clothes to wear, we may have a place to stay, we may have even comfortable weather, we may have an air conditioner at home, or it may be a warm place. If it's cold weather, we may have a heater, we may have warm clothes to wear. We may not be hungry, we may not be on the streets. Our people may be good to us, people around us may be good to us, may be kind to us. Despite all that, Our cup is not full and overflowing. There is always some question. There is always some doubt. There is always some anxiety. Have I finished this? Have I not finished this? Have I been responsible enough? Have I not been responsible enough? Have I achieved Siddhi? Have I achieved A, B, C, which I am supposed to achieve? Have I not achieved it? Is A respectful towards me? Is B respectful towards me? Who is speaking like this? Who is not speaking like this? Are people bothered about me? Are people jealous of me? Are people this? So many concerns. All the time something eating our head. All the time bees buzzing around in our head. Humming. Constant noise of the mind, despite everything being available. And of course, something small goes wrong, we need not ask at all. After that, there is more of worry, more of anxiety, more of something, more of everything, more of problems. Dukkham mahatti tirshuna, but there is so much of sorrow. And what is I? Take refuge in you. Why? Because I cannot, though I do not understand, I do not seek to understand you. I do not seek to see whether you are doing right or wrong. Because if I am trying to understand you, I will say, I start judging. I say, this is right, this is not right. Why is Bhagavan doing this? Why are all these bad things happening in this world? Why is there sorrow? Why? I'm not able to understand. But if I understand that I need not understand, if I understand that Bhagavan is taking care of everything, if I understand that He is my Paramagati, that He alone is my refuge, and He alone is the refuge of every being. And what kind of a refuge is He? He is that refuge which is the repository of all knowledge, which is the repository of all bliss, because He is in Atmanishta all the time.